Solving a linear inequality, problem type 2. So if you've seen my videos before, you've seen this statement before. I do a little bit more than Alex asks for the purpose of preparing you for the exam. All right, so here's the inequality we're looking at solving. 7u minus 31 is greater than or equal to negative 2 times the quantity 5 minus 7u. So much like if we're dealing with an equation, if you see some stuff that might need the distributive property, you should do that first. So I'm going to use the distributive property to distribute this negative 2 to both of these terms. I do not need to flip the direction on my inequality because I've not physically multiplied both sides by negative 2. The negative 2 was already there. I'm going to bring the 7u down, minus 31, greater than or equal to. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Negative 2 times negative 7u is going to be positive 14u. From here, we're just going to collect the variable terms on the left and put the constants on the right. So I want to subtract 14u to make these cancel, and I'm going to do it on both sides. 7u minus 14u is negative 7u minus 31, greater than or equal to negative 10. To get rid of the 31, we'll add it to both sides. Negative 7u is greater than or equal to negative 10 plus 31, which is 21. To get u by itself, we need to divide by negative 7. But if we divide by a negative number, we do need to flip. So we did not need to flip up here because the negative 2 was already here. But when we physically divided both sides by negative 7, that causes a situation where we have to flip it. So instead of it pointing towards the right, it's going to point towards the left. All you're left with is a u. 21 divided by negative 7 is going to be negative 3. So u less than or equal to negative 3 is going to be the answer Alex is looking for. I'm going to give the number line answer and the interval notation answer just so that we're practicing that skill. Here's negative 3. As a reminder, if you have underlines in your inequality, that's going to translate to a closed circle on the number line, which will translate to brackets in interval notation. If there's no underline in your inequality, that'll be an open circle on the number line and parentheses in interval notation. Ours had an underline, so we're going to be doing a closed circle on negative 3. U is less than negative 3, so we're going in the less than direction, which is this direction here. If we read the highlighting from left to right, we start at negative infinity, and infinities always get parentheses. Then we go all the way up to negative 3, and he gets a bracket because he was a closed circle. And that's my interval notation answer. Let's try another one. So here we have the inequality negative 7x plus 4 times the quantity x minus 2 is less than negative 35. Once again, we should start by distributing. If you can distribute, you should start there. The negative 7x comes down. 4 times x is 4x. Minus 4 times 2 is 8, is less than negative 35. Here we have like terms that we can combine together. Negative 7x plus 4x is going to give me negative 3x, and I'll leave the minus 8 still there, less than negative 35. We actually don't have to move any x's around. We can leave the x's on the left-hand side. I do need to move that 8 over, so it's minus 8, so I'm going to add 8 on both sides. These cancel. We have negative 3x is less than negative 27. So if you do negative 35 plus 8, you're going to get negative 27. To get the x by itself, I need to divide by negative 3. But when I divide by a negative, I have to flip my inequality. So instead of it pointing to the left, it needs to now point towards the right. The x is here. Negative 27 divided by negative 3 is positive 9. So x is greater than 9 is the interval, not the interval, that's the inequality answer that Alex is looking for. On my number line, I'm going to plot 9. He gets an open circle because there's no underline on my inequality. It says x is greater than it, so we're doing the greater than direction. Our interval notation, reading it from left to right, we start at 9, who gets a parenthesis, and goes all the way to infinity, who also gets a parenthesis. And there's my interval notation answer. So this really isn't much different than all the skills that you've built up to this point. It can get a little bit more challenging. We'll do one where you have to do 2 distributions, but you're going to see that it's really not that bad. It's really not that different. All right, so we have 2 distributions that need to happen here. We're going to do both of those before we start moving stuff around. So negative 35 comes down. 7 times 7 is 49. Minus 7 times x is 7x. Greater than or equal to, negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, so I'm going to write that as a minus 6. On the left-hand side, there are some like terms that can be combined. So negative 35 and 49 are like terms, and those can be combined together. You should get 14. So negative 35 plus 49 is the same as 49 minus 35, which will give you 14. Minus 7x is greater than or equal to negative 3x minus 6. I want to put my variables on the left-hand side, so I'm going to add this 3x to both sides. The 14 comes down. Negative 7x plus 3x is negative 4x. Greater than or equal to negative 6. Now I'm going to be moving this 14 over so that these 14s can cancel. We now have negative 4x greater than or equal to negative 6 minus 14 will give me negative 20. To get the x by itself, I need to divide by negative 4, and you know what's coming. We are dividing by negative, so we do need to flip our inequality. So it was pointing to the right, now it's going to point towards the left. We have an x. Negative 20 divided by negative 4 is positive 5, so x less than or equal to 5 is the inequality answer. For the number line, I'm plotting the number 5. And I am using a closed circle because there's an underline. It says less than, so I'm shading less than 5. Negative infinities down there, positive infinities up here. If I do my interval notation, the highlighting starts at negative infinity. Infinities will always get a parenthesis, and it goes all the way up to 5, who gets a bracket. And that is my interval notation answer. So once again, the key thing on these, just do the distribution first, and then solve it just like you've solved all those other inequalities, and you're going to be fine. Keep on doing what you're doing, and I hope you have a great day.